Yo, this is Never Gallimore from the Dallas Cowboys, and I want to give a major shout out to Mike Tag. Keep bringing the hype to the Cowboys Nation. We love and appreciate it. Now, can you dig it? Let's get it.
What's up, Cowboys Nation?
Now you see, we're working on some stuff. We're getting things going, man. We're trying to jazz it up a little bit. So I've been trying a few different things out. So what is up, Cowboys Nation? It's your boy Mike Tag, Kelly K9. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. It's Thursday. We're only a couple of days away from the weekend, so popping on top on a cold one and, getting ready for week 2 of the preseason, man. We've got, there's a lot to unpack here. Football's finally back. There's things in training camp, fights going on. There's guys that are showing out in preseason games. It's a lot to talk about. So I'm feeling good, man, because it's the slow part of the season's finally over. And now we're into the meat and potatoes of the season. So
we're
it's
definitely
great.
in the fun part of the season. So before we I got housekeeping. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, share. If you're new to the channel, give us a holler in the chat. Let us know so we can showcase you. We hit our first goal. So we hit the goal of hours viewed. So now we've got the opportunity for super chats and all that kind of stuff. Do some fundraising for the tailgate. Do different things. So we'll be getting more of that stuff out once we figure out how the hell to do any of this stuff. But a couple things I just wanted to get through. We've got a couple shows that are going to be next week, couple guests coming in. First one I want to say, this one's going to be kind of fun. If you're old school, we got Mike Sherrard. He was the number 1 first-round draft pick. He was a first-round draft pick for the Cowboys in 86. He was the receiver taken in 86. Michael Irvin, he was in 88. But Sherrard was – he was going to be the man. And unfortunately, he had a couple knee injuries, shortened his career with Dallas, went on to play with San Francisco, won a Super Bowl with San Francisco, played with the Giants, played against the Cowboys in some of those games, that we've talked about, some of those cool games that we've highlighted. So we're going to have a lot of fun with him. It's going to be a really good conversation, kind of go back in time a little bit, talk about his career. So I'm excited personally about that one. I just remember that card, that 87 tops, when I was a kid. It was one of the cards I always wanted because he was going to be the man. And like anything, like we talked about with these rookies, you just don't know what's going to happen. You can hype them up, you can underestimate these guys, but you don't know what's going to happen until they, until 2 years into their career to see how it pans out.
Yeah, well, anytime you've got the moniker of a first-round draft pick, I mean, there's big expectations around you. Whether you're the number 1 overall or whether you're 32, you're still a first-round draft pick. There's only 32 of them each year that get the honor of being a first-round draft pick. And typically when they draft you in that position, expectations are high, man. They want you to come in and they want you to, you're expected to be a starter on the team in most cases. Most people don't have a first round draft pick and use it on a depth player. It's interesting. So that'll be a fun interview. It'll be fun to talk with him about that, because it's the journey is different for all players that get drafted in the first round. Not everybody's journey is the same. So it'd be nice to be able to talk and get into some of that stuff because he was on the other side of the rivalry.
He was on the other side during the peaks, of some of those Cowboy minor rivalries and also with the Giants. And then there's going to be a show on Wednesday. I know you guys are Cowboy fans. I just want to preface this one by saying it's Miami. We'll be talking Miami Hurricanes. I go to a lot of the games and I always see a guy that's dressed head to toe in a uniform. And I'm talking shoulder pads. He's got the jersey, the helmet. You kind of see him in the corner of your picture. And I was like, who? I always kind of, man, that's a super fan. Maybe a little crazy. I'd never understood the story. And I was just putzing around on Twitter and I came across him on Twitter and he had a YouTube that kind of told the story. So it was a story that the Miami Hurricanes did on him. And it's kind of a really touching story. I don't want to make things sad because we'll make it, we're going to make everything positive. But his name is Shelton Duthet, and he's a longtime Miami Hurricane fan. And him and his brother used to go to the games all the time. I mean, when they were little kids, their dad was a big fan. It was just a family thing. And his brother, they went up to the Florida State game, I think in 2007 or 2008 might have been, or 2009, somewhere in there. And his brother came back, and he came back with some sort of cough or some illness, and unfortunately passed away. And when he was in the hospital, his brother always would ask him, "When are you going to wear that uniform?" Because he collected Hurricane jerseys and everything. And so from that moment, for his brother's honor, he goes to the games. I'm telling you, you live in Miami, it's hot. And he goes there in the September games in full uniform, and he's standing up the whole time. Jay Tuck would love him because he stands up the whole game, and he's right in the end zone. And like I said, I've seen him for years. So I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, I just was so touched by that story. I would just love for you to come on, share that story, and just maybe talk to Miami Hurricanes. Big fan." So I know if you're not a big fan of the Canes, maybe it's not going to interest you, but I think the story itself is really, really cool. And I think it's going to be something to share. So hopefully you guys, check that out. That'll be Wednesday. Sherrod's going to be on Thursday. So we got a lot of stuff going on, Kelly.
That's right. I mean, it's a full slate. You've got the Sunday morning things. I've committed to kind of pop in on a Sunday morning show. Mike is up a little bit in the early. I'm usually sleeping off a hangover now. I don't know. I just realized, I don't know if it's happened this Sunday, but if it's not this Sunday, for sure I'm coming in next Sunday. I'm going out of town. I didn't realize the schedule is full. I got all kinds of stuff going. I got a trip down to Texas here in a couple of weeks for my brother-in-law's birthday party. I got the Cowboys and Jets Cowboys Cave tailgate. It's a busy time, man. Things are really heating up. So but we got a full slate of content for you guys. So y'all buckle up and get ready, because this train's get to rolling.
No, it is. And like the Sunday show, I do that. It's fun. And we got like 2,000 views and a bunch of people hopping in, and it was awesome. So a lot of fun. It's early, so you got to get up, and not too early. It's not too bad. Not too bad for me, maybe for you guys. But the other thing that we've got going on is, I don't know if you saw the show last week, and I kind of put a reel out about it. But when you're listening to Eugene Lockhart, I mean, he's speaking gospel. And some of that stuff really sticks with me. I know Kelly and I talked about it a lot, after the show and a little bit during the week. And then I sent him a little teaser, said, "Man, I think we need to take what Eugene did, and we need to make that a segment." So I'm going to play it, just this, and then we'll get into it. But if you didn't see it, this will kind of tell a little bit of it, but we're going to start doing this every week. But here's the clip that your boy, look, I'm getting good at this video stuff.
Wake up to win, and they don't understand nothing else. They're not all about glamour. They're not all about the women, the girl. Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.
So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the hungry. Those guys, that hungry player of the week is what we're going to be looking at during the season. Now, it doesn't have to be Dak Prescott. It doesn't have to be CeeDee Lamb. It doesn't have to be Pollard or Parsons. It's that guy that does the dirty work. It's that guy that you didn't expect to make that big play, who stepped up in the big game, that helped the Cowboys win. So we're going to need your help, because each week we're gonna nominate some, and we want you guys to participate on Twitter and on other social media, and we want you guys to help us pick the hungry.
Who's hungry, baby? And we ain't talking about food. We're talking about on the field, because I could eat right now if I wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. So I just wanted to start a few minutes by kind of telling you guys what is going on, so you guys kind of know what to expect. But we got so many great things going on. Obviously, Monday show, me and Jimmy D, the fantasy football, those guys are crazy. They're getting there, but it's a lot of fun. But looking in, what do you want to start with first? We've got the news of Zeke. Do we maybe all just say a quick thank you to Zeke? I know he's moved on, and October 1st, it's going to be tough, because I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm not hoping for good things for Zeke on Sunday. I want him to be healthy, but I don't want to be very effective.
Well, here's the thing, man. I've seen a mixed bag. I think most of it has been respectful towards Zeke and his time in Dallas, because you gotta look at it when it's all said and done. Zeke's gonna, he walked away from the Cowboys as one of the better running backs in our franchise. Obviously, we know we've got a pretty storied franchise, and there's some great Hall of Fame running backs. Zeke put up some damn good numbers in his time in Dallas. He really did. People will sit there and talk about the contract, and they'll talk this or that. Bottom line is, Zeke came to work every Sunday. He played injured. He didn't use that as an excuse, but he came out there and he played, and he protected Dak. He was one of the best pass blocking running backs out there. It was the little things. People talk about players be willing to do the little things and to buy in, right? Well, Zeke was 100% bought in. And not only that, I think that he was a good, role model while he was here, in terms of like he was a role model teammate. You know what I mean? He was a good teammate. He respected his fellow teammates. He was a guy that people wanted to play with. And so I'm wishing the best for him, man. I hope he has a great season in New England, and a resurgent season. But yeah, you're right. When it comes to week 4, I already retweeted that out the other day. I said I hope he gets 16 carries for -21 yards, and we beat the living snot out of the New England Patriots. So sorry, Zeke. It's nothing personal. It's just business.
Just business, man. And to me, I'm having the dilemma, and I asked some people on Monday. Maybe you guys can help out too today. Is I got the rule in the cave, man. If you're an active player and you're on another team, I got to get you out of the cave. You got to go in the holding cell. You got to go in the other part of the building to make sure.
Cell.
We just can't, maybe the vibes would be good. Maybe change the vibes a little bit. We'll see what happens. But, so that's going to be a hard thing. But to your point, Kelly, Zeke was, I love running backs. I've said it 1,000 times. He was such a dynamic player for those years in Dallas. Yeah, he had some, injured years, the last couple of years. The body, the mind and the heart, said to do it, but sometimes the body thinks differently. But
yeah.
I just look back to some of those games, and I don't know for you, the one game, if I was just going to say, all right, Zeke, give me your one memory of Zeke, to me, it's always that Pittsburgh Steeler game. I don't know how you feel. When he had a huge run, the screen pass took him to the house, and then that game ending, because Pittsburgh's always a thorn on our side. It was always a pain, and we're up in Pittsburgh, and he just takes that ball and just boom, seals the deal and wins the game. That's just something, he's had all those great games against Philly. Hopefully he has one more as a New England Patriot, maybe handle that business, help us out a little bit. But he's always had those big games of Philly. But something about that Pittsburgh game, that's the one that sticks in my head.
It is for me too, I think. It's funny though, because that, not to take anything away from Zeke, but that last play, the one to win it, that offensive line opened up a chasm like the Grand Canyon, man. It just opened, and Zeke just had nothing but green in front of him when he did it. It's like, as soon as that happened, you saw the hole, and I'm like, that's game, that's ball game. But that definitely is one of the more memorable games for me as well. I think that I also think about his rookie debut against the Seahawks, when he went out there and he went head to head with Cam Chancellor. One of the hardest hitting guys there. Zeke just lowers his shoulder and just knocks him on his ass like, hey, I'm here, baby. I'm here. You know what I mean? Because Cam was looking to lower the boom on him, and Zeke got the best of him. Zeke got him on his ass. And so, that was something there where you knew that Zeke was going to be a special player. You knew he was as good as advertised. And he had one hell of a rookie season that year. That was a special year, 2016, for Zeke and the team and Dak. So, yeah.
I just, and I think with him, this, maybe to finish is that next year, what the NFL kind of did to him, I think is BS.
Get him dirty.
And you don't know about Dallas. We went into that slide without him and showed how important he was, to the team. And, it's just missed opportunities. I did a show earlier, maybe a month or so ago. I ranked the top 5 Cowboy running backs all time. And I've seen people, rank them as high as 2 and as low as 5. And maybe some even out of the top 5. I had him at 3. It was tough. Don Perkins, I didn't see him play, but he was a hell of a Cowboy, and he well deserving of if you had him ahead of Zeke, if you didn't. But to me, it's still always going to be Emmitt Smith and Tony Dorsett. You'll never convince me any different for the Cowboys. So
Yeah.
I think Zeke is, he's got a place in Cowboys. He may not be in the Ring of Honor, may not be in the Hall of Fame, but he's got a place in Cowboys history, and maybe he ends up being like Dez when he retires. I mean, you look at Dez as like one of the most loved Cowboys around, and usually you don't see that a lot without the championships. He's
Yeah.
one of those guys that kind of move past that, and he's just loved by the fans. He interacts with them so well. And I could see Zeke doing that as well, staying in Dallas and kind of being one of those ambassadors to the team after he retires.
It'll be interesting. It will. Well, what'll be? I know that he has a house in Dallas, and from what I understand, he hasn't sold that house. He still plans to live and retire in Dallas, and that's both of us have gotten to know Zeke's mom, and she is just the greatest person out there that you can find. Nice, kind-hearted. I mean, it's no wonder that Zeke is the man that he is, because he was raised by a woman like Dawn. And so, we know her, and I know that from her is that he's, planning to come back to Dallas and live in Dallas when he retires. So it'll be interesting to see, though, what he does, though. Will he be resurgent this year in New England? Will that career continue? I know they signed him to a 1-year deal, but, will he end up on another team next year? Will New England re-sign him? Could he possibly end up back in Dallas? I mean, you never know. The possibilities are limitless for Zeke, but yeah, I would have to agree. Number 3 on that list. I mean, it's going to be very hard for anybody to supplant Dorsett or Emmitt Smith. They're going to have to do that. You're going to have a pretty impressive career. Not to say that Zeke didn't, but I mean, number 3 is not bad, because there's been a pretty good.
I saw a comment with Aaron about Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker was another one of my favorite players, and I just remember him and Dorsett together. I was like, God, what more could you ask for? But yeah, Dorsett was near the end of his career. For Herschel Walker, what might have been, is if he wouldn't have went to the USFL and would have went in the NFL. Now, he wouldn't have been a Cowboy, because he would have probably been drafted 1 overall. But he was one of those athletes that, if you're just talking about a running back, I don't know much better. I mean, Bo Jackson would probably, if you're going to ask me, running back talent-wise and just everything, it's probably Bo Jackson right there. But Herschel Walker isn't far behind when it comes to that, as far as coming out of college and just everything that they had. I mean, Herschel Walker, he was a beast. And, he got like 1,500 yards, on a crappy Cowboys team. And, in 88, I think he led the NFL in rushing that year. And, they won 3 games or something, so they were terrible.
Yeah. No, there's been some good running backs throughout the course of the Dallas Cowboys franchise. And we've got another good one in there right now with Tony Pollard, and it's going to be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see what he does. Is he going to pick up where Zeke left off? He's still a young guy. I know we franchised him. So we'll see if he can have the type of season as Ezekiel Elliott type season that we're all kind of hoping he will have this year. But I'm anxious about these running backs this year. That's a topic of conversation, and it's a buzz conversation. We got to see Deuce Vaughn in the preseason, and everybody is buzzing about Deuce Vaughn. And I feel like a lot of us in Cowboys Nation, I know myself, have been over the top about it. I know I was clamoring for Deuce before the draft. I thought he was going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. I can't believe he fell to 6th. Yeah. We got him, and he looks as good as advertised, man. I mean, the thing he did in preseason is the exact same things that I saw him do at K-State. It looked no different, and he's doing it at the NFL level. And that was the question: can he still continue that at an NFL level? And he showed so far in the first preseason game that he can. Now, climbing up the depth chart, now you're probably going to start seeing some interactions and with, not against the 3rd stringers that he was playing against. So you'll see a little stiffer competition. We'll see how he does, but I'm excited. How do you feel about Deuce after that first game?
I'll say this. I got to see him play the Big 12 championship game, because I think the Cowboys were playing that Sunday, so we went. So I was a chance to see him live, and he had a hell of a game. I'll be honest, a little surprised. I kind of put him to Sproles, and Sproles had a great career at Kansas State, same size, similar size and this and that. But what I saw from Deuce, and it's one preseason game, we don't want to overreact. We want to get too crazy, right. But he's one of those guys. He looks like you might have to keep him on the field somehow, some way. Now, he's not going to pass protect. There'd be probably a big problem if he did that. But He just looks as good as advertised. And I know that people want to make the jokes as height and this and that. But going back to Eugene, and that's why I did the video with Vaughn. You want to talk about hungry. You want to talk about a guy with a chip on his shoulder. You want to talk about a guy who brings his lunch pail to work every day. And I'm he seems just to be it. And I'm really excited to see this running game. We know Pollard's the guy, but you and I, we did the happy hour. We're watching that game. I mean, those other running backs didn't impress me too much. And
No.
they could creep into where maybe Vaughn's not the RB2 by depth chart, but by carries, he might be getting the workload opposite of Pollard.
Yeah, I mean, it was an unimpressive start to me for Malik Davis. I was expecting to see more from him. He got to start in the game. Didn't really do a lot. Didn't do much of anything. And then Rico Dowdle comes in. He's a guy that I've been hearing is climbing the depth chart. A lot of people talked about him as possibly being the number 2. He had a really nice run, but then he fumbles it away at the goal line, which, if you're trying to earn your way up the ladder there, fumbling the ball in the red zone fumbling the ball period is not good, but fumbling it when you are in position to score is going to get you in the doghouse with the coaches. So, just watching Deuce Vaughn, I mean, the thing to me that kind of stood out was one of the ones where he broke into the open field and he's there and there's 3 defenders closing in on him and he makes them all run into each other.
Yeah.
He just jukes and it was just such a smooth, just kind of move that he made. And all 3 of these Jacksonville guys crashing into each other and Deuce is on, he's on the loose. And I'm sitting there thinking like, that's the kind of thing that you can't teach. That's vision, that's talent. That is athletic ability to be smooth as he is and to be as quick as he is because he can make those little subtle cuts but still not lose any momentum and keep his speed. So I'm excited about him. Not only that, the fact that you can bring him in the pass game because this dude is going to be a problem, man. When you talk about him shaking defenders, because I mean, who are you going to put on him? You put a linebacker on Deuce Vaughn, they're toast. There's no way a linebacker's keeping up with Deuce. So it's going to be very interesting. I cannot wait to see how they do this. Pollard in the backfield with Deuce in the backfield at the same time. They can come up with some very interesting things schematic wise. And I'm here for it, man. It's going to be exciting to watch 42 on the field this year.
Yeah. Well, a couple things is, you talked about it, I think, at happy hour. The thing with Deuce is he's that low center of gravity, that getting so low, it makes it hard. And I can't remember who we were talking to on our show. We had a former player on, and that's something that they even say. He gets low to the ground. You just can't get a clean hit on him.
Yeah.
He's going to be a problem. The size can work to his advantage behind that offensive line. Next thing you know, here he is and he's out there. So I think he's a guy that can be dangerous for this team. Does he keep number 42? It just looks a little odd, number 42. Do you think he keeps 42?
It does. Every time I see the 42, for whatever reason, I think of Barry Church. That's just, I don't know why that's the one that sticks out of my head. But yeah, I don't know, man. 42 does seem like such an odd number, man. I'd like to see him switch to a little bit lower number. But I mean, if he keeps it, he keeps it. Obviously, he can't wear 22. But he looks really good, man. And like you said, that low center of gravity, the fact that he disappears behind that offensive line and you can't see him. I mean, there was a play the other day in training camp where literally the play is developing and I'm like, I didn't know because they're talking about Deuce. Where is he? Like, did he line up at receiver? And then he pops out from behind the line and he's one juke move on the safety, like gone. And I'm just like, holy cow. Like this dude is he's sneaky good, man. The way that he gets, he finds the holes, man. And he's not just that one trick pony. Like I said, he can catch the ball. He showed he can bounce it outside and he can run in between tackles. Everything you need a running back to do, man. So it's they even talked about him. Kay Adams actually said that she was talking about Deuce Vaughn and said that, the NFL messed up letting him drop to the Cowboys, in the 6th round. And she said how he got to the 6th round, she don't know, but she said he's a guy to watch and she's really excited about him too. So he's creating a buzz. So it's going to be exciting to see how he carries that momentum into week 2, because like you said, nothing is won in week 1 of the preseason. We still got to see him continue and show consistency and be able to do this against some stiffer competition, which he should see, going forward.
No, if Kay Adams is talking, I'm listening. So I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah. Every time, eyes glued to the television.
But the other guy that's stepping up, and he's taking a lot of heat. Unfortunately, one of our loyal subscribers and friends of the show, you hurt his feelings, so he will not come on when you're here. He's not coming on with that, but he is. We've heard him railroad Jalen Tolbert for what 6 months, however long we've been doing this show.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jalen Tolbert's one of those guys that hungry. Could he be one of those? Yeah, he's looked good. We got the picture there, that unbelievable catch he made, and the foot control to stay about, and just everything. And he was that way in college. I've said the story. I won't, bore anyone with it, but I've watched this kid play in college because a friend of mine's son was, played there. So I would watch a lot of games. And even, he would always say, watch Jalen Tolbert. Jalen Tolbert is, no one can high point a ball. I mean, those 50-50 balls he's going to get. And so far he's delivered, and people forget he didn't start playing football till I think his junior year in high school. So he's a little slower to develop, and maybe that, maybe it was just a lot to grasp that year. Maybe it was a redshirt year, wasn't the worst thing, but he looks like a totally different receiver. Caught a touchdown in the preseason. The confidence looks at an all-time high for him. So what's your thoughts? And really in the chat, are you guys, feeling much better about Jalen Tolbert now?
I mean, I'm impressed by him. I know that for from what I've seen this year, God, if we could have got that from Tolbert last year, I mean, who knows how different things might have been, just because of the fact that receiver was one of our weak points last year because of the inability to create separation, reliability. Some of these receivers, balls bouncing on Noah Brown. Every ball seemed to bounce. He was playing volleyball out there, so Jalen Tolbert this year has looked really good. And I don't know what we could really attribute that to in terms of whether it is just a slow learning curve. But whatever it is, he's figured it out. Yeah. And he is looking good. And, he looked good in the preseason. He's looked consistent all throughout training camp. That catch the other day that he had where he just stuck his feet down, and, that was beautiful because that was, that was hands, that was body control, that was everything that you want to see in a receiver being able to make a catch like that. So, adding him into the mix as your number 4, and Gallup, hopefully that Gallup is having a healthy season. He's fully returned, but Gallup better watch his back, because if Tolbert starts playing up to the, Gallup might start seeing a little bit more time there on the, off the field if Tolbert keeps shining like that, because it's going to be hard to keep him off the field if he's making plays like that, like he did in the preseason and like he did right there. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from Tolbert. Anything that we can get offensively to add to this team is a plus. So, having a guy like Tolbert come in, plus he's a 3rd round guy. He's a guy that we'll have on the cheap for the next couple of years. So, hey, I'm all for Tolbert as well. It's just, a couple of more pieces, when we're talking about Vaughn, we talk about Tolbert, couple more pieces that we're adding to an offense that we already think is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, no, and Brooks, another rookie that he's looked good at receiver. There's going to be some tough decisions made at the receiver position. So just to kind of throw it out there with Turpin, if you're keeping Turpin, you're keeping a receiver spot. Are you a little nervous about what you saw in the fumble? Like, we don't like fumbles, we don't want any of that stuff. But
yeah,
if you've got Vaughn and the special teams has kind of changed with the fair catch and everything, all of that goes with it. Could you see any possibility that Turpin would not be here?
It's interesting because, I would have thought going into the season, no. But there's been more and more talk about that. He's not been getting a lot of, they talked about that he wasn't going to return. The coaching staff, though, has seemingly basically said that he's got a spot. They're like, he's not going to return kicks in preseason but yet there we saw him in game 1 returning kicks in the preseason. So already they're kind of going back on what they said. So, obviously a fumble is not going to get you, just like we had talked about, a fumble and is not going to get you in good with the coaches. You're going to be in the doghouse. But I think that they've been trying to see, what Turpin has at receiver. He's got a lot more looks at receiver this year in training camp. So I think that that's kind of where he's getting his looks, is at receiver. I still think Tolbert makes it, or not Tolbert. I still think Turpin makes this team. I think he makes the team. I still think he's our return guy. I do think we'll see, because we did see some Deuce Vaughn. I do think we'll continue to see him in the preseason returning kicks. And, and who knows, man? I mean, if Deuce does something, I mean, he had that pretty good 25-yard kickoff return that looked pretty nice in preseason. So if he continues to show like that, well, then maybe it does give the Cowboys, reason to kind of reevaluate that situation and think, hey, can we use this roster spot on somebody else that's maybe a guy that they want to keep over a guy like Turpin, considering the rule change and having a guy like Deuce Vaughn that you could plug in that spot. So, yeah, I mean, his nothing is promised in this league. So Turpin's definitely going to have to show his worth at receiver right now. That seems like that's where they kind of want him to, prove his mettle.
Yeah, that's what I want to see him at receiver and see what he's got. I mean, he's got some juice. He can definitely be a mismatch. To Steve said, and it's still, this one right here, it's still, it hurts me bad that kickoff return against the 49ers in the playoffs, man. Just bad decision, on which way to go, and he had it wide open and just ran right into the kicker.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it'll be interesting. I like him. I'd be shocked if they cut him, especially, he's got that game breaking ability. But I think to your point is he's going to have to show something at receiver, and I think he will. I think,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of confidence in him, and I think he's just, when you have weapons, it's, you can never have enough, right? So he's one of those special guys that you can design a few plays for and make something happen. So, it's a good problem to have, right? We're talking about, running back was an area concern. And now we're like, well, maybe we might have to make us feel a little bit better, because that was one spot that, you bring Zeke back, and then it was Dalvin Cook, and now he's with the Jets. So we're going to see him. We'll see him soon enough at our tailgate party. We'll be dealing with him. But, I don't know if you watch much of Hard Knocks, but the Jets have an O-line problem, and that's not a recipe for success week 2 against Dallas. That could
against
be
this Cowboys defensive pass rush. No, it's not. And and that's the thing, man, is that what I've spoken upon with this Cowboys team is that I feel like we're starting to see one of the most important things, in my opinion, to any roster, but especially a championship roster, is depth along the roster. We're starting to see, hey, we got some depth at wide receiver, with some of these plays that are being made, because Houston had a nice second half. Dennis Houston made some nice plays there, in that second half of that game against the Jaguars. You've got Turpin, them talking about him making some plays in camp. We didn't see much of him at wide receiver versus the Jaguars, but, you're just starting to see some depth. You look at that, the offensive line didn't look particularly great, but there are some key guys that didn't play bad that are going to be depth pieces.
Yeah.
So it's starting to look like we've got some depth on the O-line. We've talked about that pass rush. That pass rush is about as deep as it gets when you talk about rolling guys out, being able to keep guys fresh, which is important when you want to keep a consistent pressure on that defense. You talk about safety, you've seen that Donovan Wilson, he's struggled with a little bit of injuries, but you've got Marquise Bell back there. They've got a guy that's, that's making noise. You've got a guy like Iquamo that they've talked about maybe trying to rotate out safety, but you've got Kirsch, you've got Hooker, you're deep at like all these positions. Now we're starting to see some of the cornerback positions, a couple of guys. The guy that made the interception, Thomas that made that interception. He had a play where he got burnt a little bit later on that game. So he had some good and some bad. But you're just looking all across this roster, and you're just starting to see the depth that this team has. And that's what excites me the most, because we all know the starters. We all know the main cast of characters. It's the guys that are on the depth that's going to be what keeps this team afloat when we have injuries, because we will have them along the way.
No, absolutely. And I always say it reminds me a little bit of the 90s, where you come in waves. They're linebackers. They were they were deep there. They were deep at the line. They just, keep throwing guys at you. And that's what it looks like with this defense. And it's exciting. And again, it's going to be it's going to be more tough decisions that they're going to have to make on who they're going to keep and who's going to go. And, you may see them try and trade somebody to see if they can get some depth with an offensive lineman or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but it's such great problems to have if you're a Cowboys fan. What more do you
Yeah.
want? And I'm just telling you, then things get chipper. You got Biotish laying out my man Sam Williams. I don't know. I mean, that was was that a cheap shot or was that a good?
You know what?
How you gonna class that?
Here's what I'll say. There's one position group in the entire NFL that you don't fuck with, and it's the offensive line, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the most tight-knit groups that you can find. Those guys, they show up to camp together, they walk to the field together, they eat together. The offensive line, man, you don't want to mess with them dudes. And Sam Williams was coming up, and it looked like he was going to try to take a shot from behind. It looked like he was trying to go after, hit a guy from the back. So, of course, you've got the offensive line, man. They're going to stick up for each other. They ain't going to let that shit slide. So I like to see it. I like the passion and the little bit of it happens, man. Training camp, it's hot. You've been going up against the same guy. You want to hit somebody else. You know what I mean? So this happens every year along all 32 teams. Nothing I'm concerned about, but Sam Williams is definitely about to take a cheap shot.
Yeah, no, and the thing is it's competition. It's like we talked about when they were making a big deal about Dak and Diggs and they chirping at each other. You're competing against you're not a team. It's offense versus defense. You guys are competing against each other, and for like Michael, for roster spots and everything else. Once it gets game time, then it's family. Everyone's in it together. But during practice, you're going to get this. So it's good to see. It's good to see. We got a question. Did you guys see a heavy dose of running backs and tight ends? Seemed like McCarthy wanted to look hard at those positions. I mean, just for me, because running back is an area where behind Pollard, there is some concerns and some questions, at least with this Cowboys fan. Maybe others think differently, but running back is an area of concern. And then I think with tight end, a lot of people anointed Schoonmaker as like, hey, he's going to be the number one guy. Ferguson has something to say about that.
Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah. So, I think when you look at preseason, it's like I had some idiot, like laughing, saying we lost. We got beat in preseason. The worst part about it, it was an Eagle fan, and he said, well, we only lost by 1, and you guys lost by 6 or whatever. I mean, how pathetic was that? Preseason, they're trying different things. They may force a pass. They may try and get something to a guy to see how he responds, just like prior. They may go heavy on the running backs because they got to figure out what these guys got and what they're dealing with. So that's why I was telling you, don't get excited at the score. Watch the plays, watch the players. Who's showing heart? Who's putting it all out on the line? Yes. Who wants to be there? That's what I look at for preseason.
Yeah, and I mean, to answer the question, that I'll answer it on. I thought the same thing. I mean, but you obviously you want to see what you have at that tight end group and who's going to be your guys, and you want to see what you have behind Tony Pollard. We know what Tony Pollard is. Outside of him, we don't really have a lot of answers. We're starting to see those answers and see that unfold. Me personally, I think Ferguson's our tight end day one. I think he's our starting tight end. He looks very smooth. He looks athletic. He looks explosive. I think he's going to be a problem, and I think that's going to be one of Dak's go-to targets this year. I'm not saying I don't think that Hendershot and Schoonmaker will. I think Schoonmaker will do well. I'm excited about Ferguson though because I think he's going to be the guy. And I thought he could have been the guy before we drafted Schoonmaker. I didn't even think we needed to draft him. But yeah, I mean, it's just. Preseason is one of those things where who gives a shit about the score, man? This is about guys trying to make the roster. This is about like what we talked about, depth. You want to know what you have at depth, right? And I mean, when I look at this, I look at it, I say, okay, how judgmental can I really be? Jacksonville was rolling out their ones. We had plenty of our defensive starters that didn't even touch the field. We started the game off though with an interception of Trevor Lawrence. That was their starting quarterback that threw an interception. Interceptions are thrown by other starters in the preseason and in practice. It does happen, apparently. I thought it only happened to Dak, but so it was funny. I had the same thing though. Maybe it was the same guy, man. I had an Eagles fan in there, and he was talking about that we lost the game, and I said, I don't give a shit about preseason games. I'm like, you guys lost too, man. Does that mean that you're going to be a shitty team? No, I mean, it doesn't mean anything. And so, yeah, I don't buy any of that, but yeah, I think to answer another quick question from Stars, running back 2, I think it's going to be. I actually think it's going to be Vaughn. I think he's going to work his way into that number 2 role by the time preseason's over. So.
Yeah, I mean, just what I've seen so far. I mean, maybe like I said, it may be situational, maybe different.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at carries, I think obviously he's always going to get the lion's share. But I'm starting to think more and more just from practice and what I'm seeing that maybe Vaughn's going to at least have the second most carries on the team. So that's what I'm thinking with that as well. And Ferguson and hey, everyone, man, appreciate it in the chat. It is hopping, trying to get to all you guys. I saw Curtis jumping in and all of these guys. So man, and also I'll give the star we are. They share a lot of things from content creators, from stuff people are putting out in tweets and stuff. So whoever the hell you guys are, I think if my memory is right, they gave away a young lady won a suite or something at the preseason game. Nice. So I thought that was pretty cool. So they're doing good things. You can't see faces; they just got the star. So whoever they are, we appreciate all the love.
Absolutely, and thanks for coming into the show and asking some questions and contributing to the show. So
no, absolutely. So no, but getting with the defense, we talked about overshown, and some things are made again. The media's gotta really hype things up, but I look at it as a positive. So overshown before the game was given the pregame kind of, if you want to call it hype speech to the players. Do you have any issues? Any issues with the rookie doing that? And I mean, Dak wasn't playing. All your 21, I think, starters or something didn't play. No. You give that kid an opportunity. Let's see what he can do. Make him feel good. Make him feel like a leader of the team. And and you saw what happened on the field. The man was everywhere.
No, it was I don't care. Here's the thing, man. It doesn't matter the Cowboys could have an undefeated season and the media would have to find something. It's like the other day when we talked with Moose Johnson, we had the interview. Remember, he said, if it wasn't on the play, then they looked to criticize us off the field because we were so good on the field. They had to find things off the field. The media is always going to find something to bitch about, man. There is no such thing as perfect with these Dallas Cowboys because they could never be perfect in the media's eyes. There's always going to be something that they're going to criticize, whether it's Diggs going to Dak, whether it's, that's a rookie doing that, whatever it may be. I don't buy anything into that. I think it's perfectly fine. Preseason game. And you know what? Obviously the shit worked because Overshown hyped his ass up, hyped his own self up. You know what I mean? He was his own hype man, went out there on the field and had himself a hell of a game. And so I've got nothing bad to say about it. I thought it was great. I thought it was fine. I have heard, speaking of the defensive side, though, when it comes to that, I have heard some people that started knocking Mozzie Smith, our first round draft pick. And I've seen a lot of that on Twitter lately. And I don't think that, I think a lot of these people, honestly, and this is not to criticize anybody because I'm not a huge X's and O's guys. I'm not going to be able to tell you, here's where a 2 technique versus a 3 technique should be. I'm not going to break all that down for you. But I will just tell you this. Mozzie Smith doesn't play a sexy position. He's not going to fill up the stat box. That's just not what he's going to do. That's not what we drafted him to do. He's a guy they want him to collapse the pocket, cause pressure amongst the middle, but he's not going to get a lot of sacks. He never will get a lot of sacks. But I thought in the preseason, there was some good and there was some bad. There were some things he needs to work on, but this is what you want to see from your rookie. They gave him a ton of snaps. They had him out there in the second half.
There was a lot of times there was 3 guys blocking him.
Right. That's my thing is that when you see that, you see the guys that he's blocking and you see the space that he's eating up and you see the pressure because he did get some pressure in the middle. And you think about if you create that type of pressure and you've got DeMarcus Lawrence on this side and you've got Micah Parsons on this side, or you've got Sam Williams coming off this side with, whatever combinations that they throw out there. Man, dude, that just makes everybody's job easier. I thought that, the people that are being critical of Mozzie Smith just need to step back off the ledge, take a deep breath because Mozzie had a pretty good game. He had a pretty good game, and he's playing a position that, like I said, it's just not going to fill up the stat box, but it's more than that, what he does and how he will affect the game. I am absolutely thinking that I'm still hyped about him and his possibilities going into the season.
It was a weakness for the team. I mean, any Cowboy fan Jesus, how many playoff games or how many times do you see just get absolutely gashed up the middle and just get tore up? So that's what he's there to do. And to Curtis's point with him and Hankins, that's what you want. And the funny thing, and just going back to Moose, the other thing you talked about preseason, if you remember in '89, he said they went 3-1. And they were thinking they got this thing figured out, and they get absolutely annihilated the first week against the Saints, and they go on to win one game. So, Moose had a lot to say. He was on the show. If you guys are new and you don't know, we had Moose Johnson on recently. Check out Moose. And coming up, I talked about it earlier. We got Mike Sherrard, who was a Cowboys first-round draft pick in 1986. Played with the Niners, played with the Giants. So he's got a lot of good stories. He was high promise rookie. He had some knee injuries, but he's going to be a lot of fun to share some stories. So definitely, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share. I know I don't say it enough. I got to get better at it. I got to beg and plead for you guys to help us out. But everything that we do this for the love, and we do it because we love the Cowboys and we love interacting with you guys. Any of you guys have seen us at games and all that, man. We like to have a good time. And we're going to have a good time at the tailgate party September 17th at our home opener against them Jets when we slap Aaron Rodgers around the field. So we got a lot of stuff going on, but definitely if you guys are new, let us know because we appreciate it. But, looking at jumping into the secondary a little bit and your cornerback battle. So obviously we've got our two. You could argue to say maybe you got your three, right? You Bland. I mean, geez, he's got to be fine. He had 5 or 6 picks.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything from anyone else in the cornerback position? I know Eric Scott's getting a lot of love. The rookie, they drafted in the 7th round. You always hearing Kelvin Joseph, and then you got what's his name? His mind escaping me. The big guy,
Nashon Wright.
right. And and then Thomas got a pick.
Yep.
So you're talking some depth, but there's going to be some guys looking for a job. You have Goodwin, right, from the cornerback, but more special teams. Maybe do you see Kelvin Joseph maybe taking that role because they usually keep one guy there, just contract wise. So what's your thoughts overall on the cornerback position? You feeling good?
I feel great about it. It's another position that I think that we've got depth because you got guys like Thomas that are coming out there and they're making plays, and you've got things like struggling to think of is that Nashon Wright. This is making a bit of a push. It's one of those things where you look at that position and there's some depth there. I think that we're pretty deep there. So I'm liking our cornerback position. I think this is going to be the number 1 defense in the league, man. I think we got the best secondary. I think we're gonna have the best pass rush. Top to bottom, man, it's hard to find weaknesses in this defense. It really is. I don't see any. I do not see any right now. I don't see any. And so that's it's encouraging. So I think we got a lot of depth in secondary, and the secondary is young, which is, I really like that. We got a lot of youth. Obviously, Gilmore is our, seasoned veteran, but outside of him, man, that secondary is young. So, and that's one of the positions that's hard to play in the NFL. So a lot of times you see these guys make, the growth leaps from one year to the next. So that's why I'm excited about, Deron Bland's progression, a guy like Nashon Wright progressing a little bit, all those guys will benefit from, having an extra year under their belt. So very encouraged about that.
Yeah, no. And hey, big shout out again to Star We Are. I told you guys, we finally hit the numbers where we can, do some stuff and with the channel. We got our first super sticker. From Star We Are, and any of these donations that you guys do to the channel, it all goes back into the channel. Maybe it gets Kelly a new computer. Sometimes he has some issues. We talked about that last week. Brother up, but for now, all of that kind of stuff goes to the tailgate party. So we're gonna have a big tailgate party, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you guys love it and check it out, you want to do any of that, I never asked for anything, but if you feel, hey, you guys are working hard, you're working that extra money, to help you guys out, we want to contribute to the show and keep you guys going and keep you strong. All it does is help us get a little bit stronger. Helps us get new software, helps us pay some bills. Your boy's been in the hole of this, but again, I do it because I love it. I never thought to do it to make a living. I do it for the passion, and Kelly does. I would think you probably are the same way. It's just it's fun for us to do.
I believe so too. I think that this comment right here, don't stay up too late, boss. I think one of my one of my employees that works for me in my department might actually be tuned in here right now. So I think that might be him. So hey, thanks for tuning in. I go out now. I'm like you. If I have to beg and plead for your subscriptions, I ain't too proud to beg. So
No,
I'm out here getting them everywhere I can get them, man.
That's right. I tell Kelly, I said, I'm in sales, so I should be a sales guy. And maybe Kelly sees it sometimes because I'll send him some stuff, and my mind's always working. How can we do things to make things fun on the show or do different things? But there's one thing, and I'm a sales guy, but the one thing I hate to do is I hate asking. I hate, I don't want to say begging, but as for subscribers and things like that, I feel kind of uncomfortable with it. I feel, hey, if they love me, why aren't they subscribing? Why aren't they doing this? But you are subscribing. We gained over 150 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. So it is a huge thanks to you guys. And we've seen the views, we've seen everything going up. So it is all a huge thanks to you guys. And like I said, man, we just love doing it, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So let's get into a little bit of the defensive line. Then I had a question that someone on Twitter asked me. We'll save that, near the end and get in McCarthy, talk a little bit about McCarthy. But, looking at this defensive line, I think we've set our piece with it. We've got it. Do you see some guys that might be, unfortunately not going to make the cut on this defense? We've got so much depth. Is there a guy that you're like, man, maybe we should try and look to move him? I know there's been questions about the offensive line. Do we, you try and move a guy to maybe get some depth at the offensive line if you got someone who's offensive line heavy, which is not very many teams now, as you can see, you watch games.
I don't know. That's going to be a good question. If we have anybody that's on there, obviously I don't think that it's going to be a big name guy. I think they're going to keep, obviously we know it's going to be like a role player type of guy. I don't know that they would get much for him, but that one of the names that they've talked about who it's, at camp, he's got to make some plays and stuff is Gallimore. He's a guy that's shown some value, that's shown some potential, but also you look at how deep this defensive line is. So somebody else chimed in and said Gallimore too. So, I mean, he could be a guy where you could end up going for, and it's going to be an equal value type player, but it'd be a depth piece maybe towards that offensive line. But, to say this in Jerry's voice, since we got that. Yeah. So Bohanna as well. Yeah. Him or Gallimore. We're so deep on that defensive line. And that's the thing is that when you're that deep, you get, that there could be a casualty there. So I could see one of those guys, hopefully not Gallimore. Obviously he's in the intro, so we want to keep him there. So,
that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. We hate to start it over, but we got to, next year we probably got to do something new anyway, but we'll see. He just does such a phenomenal job. The way he enunciates it, emphasizes that can you dig it and everything. It was just, God, it was so good that you hate to. I don't think you can replicate. I played the one with Danucci. That didn't, that didn't sell it. No. So we've got a question. So we'll get a couple questions in here. Let's see. Over under 8 wins for the Hurricane. Oh, we got a Hurricane.
Oh, we got a Hurricane question.
The Cowboys, I know, just talking about defensive league, but to this day and age, it's the offense that carries the team in the playoffs. I mean, yeah, I guess it does. It just really depends. I think it's all about matchups. I mean, I don't know, Kelly, I'll let you jump on, but I think the Hurricanes, I mean, they better be over 8 wins. I'm getting sick of saying that we're back and we're almost there and all this and that. So we're gonna have Shelton on next Wednesday, and hopefully we've got some pie. He's gonna pump me up because I've been feeling down about my Canes. I didn't renew my season tickets this year because I was so disgusted that my buddy, I'm paying for decent seats. He got club seats at Miami for $5, and I'm paying.
Wow.
Yeah, so we gotta end that. But offense definitely carries it. But I think defense. I mean, you've seen it with San Francisco. You've seen it with some of the team. Defense in the playoffs can, they could take you somewhere. And I'll argue that if there wasn't an injury to a quarterback, maybe there was a different team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because you've got a team like the Chiefs that's offense heavy. Um, so you kind of start looking back and you start thinking about the teams that have won the Super Bowl in recent, and it's a lot of offense. You've got offense and Tony bring up a good point on his last comment. It says against the Niners, it was the offense. The defense did his job. And you're right. We needed the offense to play better. But when you come down to it and you look at that game, we didn't need to score very many points, though. I mean, if you score 20 points in that game, you win, right? So I think with this particular team and the way we're set up, I think that each one will complement the other. I think the defense will complement the offense because of the opportunities they'll present by creating short fields, getting takeaways, stuff of that nature. But here's the thing is if you have a defense that stays consistent all year long, like I think that this defense has the capability of doing because of the fact that we are deep in all these spots and because you can keep guys fresh, rotating them in. You don't have to keep guys on the field. You don't have to keep a guy like Parsons out there all 4 downs to where he's worn out at the end of the year. You can rotate him out with other guys that can rush the passer. Because we have that kind of a defense, I think you could see this defense carry this team. I think you could see this defense win several games for this Cowboys team. Now, did we need offense against the Niners? Yeah, but really, honestly, what we needed was turnover-free football from Dak Prescott.
Maybe their defense had something to say about it.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the 49ers defense. That you can't take anything away from that defense. I know people will look at the next game, next week or whatever, they go in and they play the Eagles and the Eagles handle them pretty good, but there's injury at quarterback right off the bat, and
they had the ball on their side of the field on many times because you had no quarterback. But if you watch that first part of the game, even until they got down to like the McCaffrey, running the ball, with that crappy quarterback they had, the 4-string one, it was there. I like your point. I think you need a balance, but I think when it comes down to it, your defense can shut people down. And I mean, it's been proven, but you do need some offense. I mean, you need offense when you don't have defense. I mean, that's why people hype up the Eagles and talk about their touted defense they had last year. Whenever they played a good offense, that defense didn't look too good. I mean, Dallas's offense dropped 40 on them. You saw what, Mahomes did to them. You saw what the Lions did to them. They gave up a lot of points in a lot of spots. I would argue their defense wasn't very good. That's why I said if you would have brought the San Francisco, let's say they're all in and they're all healthy and they're going to the Super Bowl, that Super Bowl could have looked different, maybe not. But I could pretty much, I would guarantee you that Mahomes ain't dropping, what he dropped 40 or whatever he did. I don't think that on the Niners. So it's a balance. It's a balance.
Exactly. Well, and here's my thing, like you said, to echo kind of off what you said, is that not to take anything away from the Eagles, they were in that Super Bowl. They did play in that Super Bowl. They got to the game. We didn't. But, I think that if the Cowboys defense was going up against the Chiefs, I don't think the Chiefs are dropping 40 on that Cowboys defense. I think that game is probably held down into the 20s. I mean, we've already seen it. We've seen a game just a few years ago where we played against Patrick Mahomes, and our defense played pretty well. They didn't get carved up. The Eagles, like you said, when they played against some of the better teams, they got carved up. Didn't think their defense was that good last year. I thought they were an overrated defense. They got a lot of sacks, but they gave up a lot of yards and gave up a lot of big chunk plays. And I think their defense is worse this year. So, I mean, that's why when people sit there and start talking about the NFC East and they keep talking about it's the Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles. I mean, the Eagles offense is good, but the Eagles offense is what's going to have to carry them because their defense is not going to be. I'm not seeing that defense being any better this year. And everybody from the Eagles wanted to blame their defensive coordinator, say it was all the D coordinator. Well, the D coordinator doesn't get out there and defend passes. He doesn't go out there and, your D coordinator can do so much, but that's what I feel on that. So I think our defense is built different.
I'm with it. And it goes without saying. I mean, to Tony's point, I mean, we've said it a million times. It's going to come down to 4. I mean, there's no excuses. The team is better. You got your Pollard's going to be the man. You see what Deuce Vaughn can do. You got Cooks. You got Gallup coming a second year back. You see what Tolbert's been doing. You see what some of these other receivers doing. CD goes without saying. I think tight end. I don't think they're going to miss Schultz at all. I just, the offensive line. is going to be about what it was last year. But if they stay healthy, they're going to be even better. So it will come down to Dak Prescott. And he always would say pressure is privilege. Well, get ready because there's going to be pressure. I mean, you see what the media is doing. They are absolutely – I've never seen a quarterback get lit up so much as I've seen Dak Prescott for no – I mean, some of it, obviously, if you're going to talk playoff, it's valid, but some of the stuff they're talking about is just such bullshit. I mean, they're talking about the practices. They're talking about this. They're throwing videos of him throwing an interception when it's Cooper Rush and they're riding a jock. And then you got those two clowns coming to playoffs or coming to the training camp. And then they're talking about, I mean, I've never seen anything to this magnitude. Now, social media plays a huge part of it. There's no doubt about it. And again, these shows have become more talking heads. That's why I say, if you're a true Cowboy fan, you're a diehard Cowboy fan, I'm not saying you got to watch our show, but there are so many great content creators that you could watch that love the Cowboys. Some are very informative and will break down the film and they'll give you all of that stuff. You got a selection. It's like, it's like going to the ice cream store. You got the guys that, maybe, Kelly and I fall in the category. We're just some passionate fans that are going to give you a fan's point of view, fan's perspective. We're going to run through it. Maybe I'm a little too positive sometimes. That's where Kelly's going to be the yin and the yang. I've seen his post-game rants when we lose. We'll let him handle that kind of business. And when we win, I'll show the love. So, it all works itself out. But, I don't know. Like Dak Prescott, he's going to have you could say that you don't hear it. You say you don't listen to it. You could say you don't read it. But it's on him. I mean, make no mistake about it. It is on him, and it's on the guy that's sitting underneath you, Mike McCarthy. I mean, they're tied at the hip. Yeah. One goes, the other one goes. That's
and Dak Prescott's got to have mental toughness. The mental toughness to play in Dallas. I don't think that gets talked about enough because, I mean, Dak's been under scrutiny. I mean, obviously he rode the wave in 2016, right? Everybody's on the Dak Prescott bandwagon. Everybody's like, hey, this is a 4th round draft pick. It's incredible what he's doing, blah, blah, blah. Well, then you go to year 17, starts to get a little bit of struggles. And then, 18 comes around, they get that win against Seattle, but then they lose against the Rams. And then, but the last couple of years, it's just been continuously negative, and it's gotten more negative and more negative. And the media is now piling on it. Now they turn on you. And, it's I don't remember who said it, but it always sticks in my head. It says, and actually I know what it was from. It was on the movie Air about Michael Jordan. And they're talking, they're making a pitch. Nike's making the pitch to him. And he says, they'll build you up, but then they're going to tear you down. They're going to tear you down, and they're going to find every excuse to say that you're this, to say that you're that. They're going to come after your personal life. They're going to criticize your play on the court, and it's the truth. That's what the media does. They build a guy up because they had Dak built up, talked about how great of a leader he was, all these great attributes, but now that has totally flipped a 180, and now it's that he can't win. And now it's just so that mental fortitude that you have to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys and with all the scrutiny that comes with it, and to be able to just block a lot of that out and be confident in yourself and your play. That's what we need to see from Dak Prescott. And I'm anxious to see if he can come in and do this and shut a lot of these people up, man. And trust me, man, nobody is rooting harder for that man than me. I know you are too, but I mean, I'm just saying, I want to see him succeed more than I've wanted any other quarterback to succeed, just because of the amount of times he has been shit on. And he's a great person. He's a leader, and he deserves it. He's worked hard for it. He deserves this. And I cannot wait to see him go out and get this on the field.
Well, we need it. We need it bad. But and to Tony's making good points. When Pollard went down in that playoff game, Kellen Moore was calling the plays. I think McCarthy was very critical of Kellen Moore throughout the season. You saw that, and I tell people, I'll go to my grave that McCarthy never wanted Kellen Moore to be the coordinator. I mean, you don't hire an offensive coach and tell him, here's your coordinator. I've never seen it really happen. Maybe if it has, you guys let me know, prove me wrong. But it was very odd. So there was just something there. And the thing you saw with Kellen Moore, why I think it's Kellen Moore, and Kelly, check me if I'm wrong, but whenever it came time to make adjustments, whenever they got stonewalled, whenever there was trouble, he never seemed to really find a way out of it. Like the Cowboys always kind of had to start and get rolling. And if they
Yeah.
got rolling, man, it was on, and he was calling play, and they were doing all this stuff. But if they ran into trouble, man, it just the wheels fell off on the offense. That's just my opinion. I think that falls a lot on Kellen Moore. It's going to be very interesting to see what McCarthy running his kind of offense, because he's been successful as a play caller. Go back to New Orleans. Go back to, he was on the Kansas City staff. He was in San Francisco. I mean, he's a quarterback. I hate to use the word guru, but go watch all his tapes and quarterback schools he did and taught and did, the films he did. So he knows a position. He's coached great quarterbacks. So obviously you got to have great quarterbacks and make you look good, right? So he's done it. So I have all the confidence in the world that he is going to do things that put, I don't want to say Dak friendly. I guess that's not a favorite thing to say of a quarterback, but he's going to put Dak in the best positions to be successful. And to me, the best way to be successful in offense is get CeeDee Lamb the ball in space, get Gallup the ball, get him those one-on-ones opportunities, get all this stuff going on, use Pollard the right way. That's what I think he's going to do. He did it in Green Bay. He did it everywhere else. They had, the two-headed monster at running back with Aaron Brooks in New Orleans. So he's done it. So I think he's going to take the personnel and maximize the opportunities and the skill set in all of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that situational football was not Kellen Moore's strength. I think that if the offense got rolling, yes, but he also, you look at games like that Green Bay game. We got that early lead, and then we just kept throwing the ball when we should have been running the ball. Look at the Jacksonville game. Same way. I'm sitting there watching those, and I'm like, wow, how the hell did we lose those games with those big leads? Well, time clock management, the way that Kellen Moore just keeps calling the plays the same way. Well, then, you get an interception and it's ran back or whatever, Kellen Moore just didn't seem to be a guy who just understood, like, okay, here's where we are in the game. The defense is doing this. They're playing the pass. I've got a big lead. Let's start pounding the rock, right? And I think that McCarthy he's more suited to understand that, because he's been there and he's seen it and he's done it. And I've got faith in McCarthy. It's not that I don't think that Kellen Moore is a horrible play caller. I don't think that. I think he's going to do some good stuff with his team, with the Chargers this year. I think that you're going to see some big things out of that offense, but I think you're going to see a lot of the same struggles we saw with Dallas. Yeah. And that's the most situational play calling and time, basically like time and place, right? You got a big lead. You should probably start running the ball. You don't have to keep throwing the ball when you're up 3 scores. You know what I mean? Things like that, I think, are what led to some of those losses that we shouldn't have had. And I think McCarthy, I think he's going to do the opposite. I think he's going to be the guy that knows, all right, I've got a 3 touchdown lead here. Time to start running the ball, and maybe not even running the ball, but maybe using, short passes, you know what I mean? Things that are going to move the chains, keep it moving, but keep the clock moving as well. So, I'm excited, man. I think McCarthy is going to be good for Dak, and I think he's going to be good for this offense.
Yeah, and you saw Schottenheimer how involved he was, in the preseason game, going back to the the quarterbacks, and you saw Greer struggle a little bit, and he coaching them up. But and again, the thing I'll say is, what Tony makes a point, and I'll just say this: I agree with you. The problem is, think about business and think about if whatever workplace you're in. If you're the manager and the owner hires your supervisor who was already there and says you're keeping that supervisor, that pretty much tells you that you got no authority over that dude. That's the owner picked him. Yeah. So I think McCarthy kind of was holding back, but finally, McCarthy's looking at it, it's like, all right, you look at that San Francisco game, you look at some of these games, go back to the other games where he was more critical of the offense, and he was kind of like, throwing a little shade on Moore without, calling him out, calling his name and everything. But he got frustrated with it. And I think, if my own personal opinion, I think after this season, McCarthy's like, look, dude, I got to do things my way. I probably got 1-2 more years. I got 1 year. If we don't get much further, the pressure's going to be on and something's going to end up happening. If I'm going down with the ship, I want to do it my way and the way I know how. And I think Jerry and Steven, did that. And I think, with Kellen Moore, you got to remember, man, he was Dak's teammate. I mean, he got hurt. It's not like he went off somewhere and coached a bunch of times. He kind of stayed on the staff and he kind of worked himself up with Garrett and all of that stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was on the job training for him, but those guys are buddies, and we all work with friends. If we've had friends that we, we're friends, you treat them a little bit different sometimes. Now you got Schottenheimer in there. He's probably going to tell Dak the way it is. Maybe some tough love sometimes, maybe Moore coddled him a little bit. I never saw Moore get in his face after throwing picks or after doing this. Go watch McCarthy with Aaron Rodgers. You're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks that you could argue. How many times do you see them get into it? How many times do you see McCarthy get pissed off? Go back to Brett Favre and see that. I mean, there's got to be a chain of command. There's got to be some respect and authority. And I just don't think it was there with Kellen Moore and Dak.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I mean, it was I think it was Bill Parcells that said, "Look, if you want me to cook the meal, I want to buy the groceries." When he was there with Dallas, that was one of his big things. Was like, let me make these decisions. I don't want somebody making them for me. So I think that's kind of the same with Mike McCarthy. It's like, hey, you want me to cook the meal? Let me have full control of the kitchen here, because you've got cooks in the kitchen that I might not want here in the kitchen. And I don't think Kellen Moore was one of those guys that McCarthy really ever. I wouldn't say they had a bad relationship, but you've seen the shade that McCarthy's thrown at Kellen Moore this offseason. You've seen it. You've heard it. You don't talk like that about a guy that you wanted to keep on your staff. You know what I'm saying? So, McCarthy has made it known that he thinks that some things were done wrong. And now it's time to see, hey, talk is talk. This is where the rubber meets the road now. So can McCarthy come through and do what he says he's going to do and have this offense running and have it be a fine-tuned offense and, continue to see this offense score at a high rate and be the offense that we've seen over the past several years. Yeah.
No, I think, and I agree. And I was just reading some of the things in the chat. Do you think Michael get let go? I mean, I think unfortunately he will. And I hear Dan Quinn's name, and Dan Quinn is a great defensive coordinator. He got to the Super Bowl with Atlanta, so you can say, well, at least he got there. But he also got there with Matt Ryan was having an MVP season. He had Shanahan as his coordinator. That didn't hurt. But look at the history of his defenses when he was the head coach. Wasn't as good as when he's a coordinator. So always be careful of anointing the next one. I mean, you can look in the NFL, and this would probably validate Tony's point even more. There's not many defensive-minded coaches that are in the NFL right now. It's really offensive heavy, and the defensive ones. I mean, you got the Bills guy. You got a few others that are having some success, but it still comes down to the offensive mind. So I would just be a little cautious of that. I personally hope that Quinn is to the point in his life and career where he's like, you know what? I love what I'm doing. I'm getting paid, pretty damn good to be the defensive coordinator. I don't have all that pressure that I have to deal with. I could just do what I love because he's been very successful as a coordinator in Seattle. He's been very successful, obviously, in Dallas. So I'm hoping he sticks around and continues to do that. But obviously, you can't worry about next year. We got to worry about today. And today, he's a defensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy's pretty much the offensive coordinator. Obviously, you got Schottenheimer helping out. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited, man. I just want let's get this shit started, man. Forget that. That's why I'm glad there's 3 preseason games. It's shortened up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I forgot. I actually had forgot that until today. I was looking at the schedule and I'm like, all right, because somebody asked me. They said, "Who you guys playing this Saturday?" And I'm like, I don't even fucking know, man. I said, to be honest with you, I don't really pay much. I said, I watch the preseason game when it's on, but I don't fucking look at the schedule like that. I said, a regular schedule, I could spout it off for you. I said, but preseason, I said, shit, who knows, man? And so I had to look it up and see who we were playing.
We're playing Seattle. We're playing
Seattle, and then the Raiders. We finish up with the Raiders, but right. I don't, it's preseason again. I'll watch it obviously because I like to watch the games of the Cowboys. I'll watch the preseason games, but here's the thing. If I was to miss a preseason game, I think I missed 1 or 2 last year. If I miss a preseason game, I'll go back and watch the highlights.
You watch NFL Network every damn hour. You could watch
exactly. You end up catching the replay. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it's like I'm invested in this because I want to see what we've got on this roster. I'm very excited about this team, more excited than I've been in many years about this team and about the potential of this team. But at the same time, I'm ready for the regular season. I'm ready to get it going, get it underway. Let's go. Bring on September already, man. Let's go.
Absolutely. And Al Harris, he's from hometown. I think we graduated the same year. He went to one of our rival high schools. So yeah, so Al Harris has done a great job with the secondary. So yeah, I liked him when he played in the NFL. Even though I think he was an Eagle for a while. I don't like that. But anyway, yeah. So preseason, I don't think we're doing a happy. I mean, it's 10 o'clock. That's not happy
Yeah, I
hour.
was gonna say I don't know if we'll do a happy hour for that one. It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. I'm probably gonna be 6 or 7 beers deep at that point.
You don't want it. So your boy, I may pop in. I mean, you never know. If I'm sitting home watching the game, if I'm up, then I'll definitely watch. At least watch the first quarter. Maybe I'll pop in for a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But I don't know. If not, I'll be here Sunday morning doing a recap. So I stay consistent with that. So worst case, you guys, you'll see me on Sunday if I'm not here on Saturday night. But we're gonna have a good time. But I don't know. Is there any? I had all the stuff. I think we covered it all, Kelly. Is there anything else we missed?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much, we pretty much wrap. Well, I guess we could say, just going into this real quick, into the preseason, this second game. What is it that you're looking to see specifically? Is there anything that you want to see improved? Is there anybody that you're watching to see? What are you looking for in this next preseason game?
I mean, I want to see the offensive line, even though that's going to be primarily backups. I have zero concern with the defense. Like, I would just rather us just play offense and just leave the defense. Don't even have them come out.
Shut the starters down, yeah.
But I'm still the running back. I feel good with Deuce, but I just think someone's going to have to step up somewhere, whether, fullback or whether it's going to be, a lot of people, Malik Davis or it's Rico. I mean, someone is going to have to step up outside of Deuce Vaughn. So I'm still interested in that. The tight end, I mean, we saw Schoonmaker out there. So everything to me is on offense. I want to see kind of how this offense comes together and see how everything's looking. But how about you?
Same exact thing. Kind of piggyback off you. It's I think everybody knows what we have in this defense. I don't think you take any of the defensive guys, defensive starters, our main guys. I don't think any one of them see any playing time. I don't think they should have to see any playing time. I don't think it'd be smart to see any playing time. So just get the offense out there. I'd like to see Deuce get more run with the twos, have him running with the twos. So if you're going to start Malik Davis or if you're starting Dowdle, however you want to start that, I would like to see Deuce kind of move up a little bit so that you can see him get a little bit more time against some of the stiffer competition, and see what he can do there. But yeah, and then tight end, see kind of get a little bit better look at Schoonmaker, see what he's got out there. But and then obviously offensive line, you want to see a little bit better play from that offensive line. And I thought they got better as the game went on. It was just the pass protection wasn't really great. There were some guys that kind of got bullied around out there.
Quarterbacks are getting killed early on.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not going to be able to do much if your quarterbacks are on their ass. And there was a couple of running plays where the running back was met in the backfield for a loss. So that's not something you want to see with the offensive line either. So yeah, it's all on offense for me.
It is, but I mean, would you be opposed to them playing like Dak? Maybe in the starters a series, or does it really matter?
With the new, I almost don't know if it even matters anymore. I did say last week that I'd like to see Dak a little bit, and I'll be honest with you. Maybe that last preseason game, maybe throw Dak in there, and I wouldn't mind seeing the starting offense for a series. I think tonight did Jalen Hurts play tonight for the Eagles?
No, I watched it was 3-2. It was a real barn burner. But I tell you what, that the Eagles had a lot of their starters on defense and Cleveland with their backups were going up and down the field. Now they fumbled. Nakobe Dean, good play. Can't hate him. He forced a fumble on the 1 yard line when the running back fumbled it, and they got it. And then they got a safety. The Eagles running back ended up getting a safety, so then they get back, and I think the Eagles kicked a long field goal. I don't know what happened after that, but their third string quarterback was moving the ball on them. So
well, and I heard, and I don't know. Obviously, I never root obviously I would never be a person to root for injuries, but just saying something I did hear. I saw a couple of tweets saying that the Eagles had several injuries. Apparently there was a guy, I don't know who it was. I just saw a deal that said
somebody got carted
off the field. I saw that in the chat. And then I'm in a group message on Twitter or whatever, and they were talking about there had been several injuries in the Eagles, on the Eagles team. So you never want to see that in preseason, but obviously it's one of those things where if you start seeing guys getting banged up and going down in the preseason, obviously that's not a good thing. So that's another thing I want to see, knock on wood here, injury-free football in this preseason game. So
that's the thing. You throw CD, you throw Dak out there for a series, and God forbid they had a season-ending injury. Boy, oh boy, that'd be the end. That'd be the end of someone's job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I think honestly, I think that's probably why Mike McCarthy's staying. He's like, you know what, we don't need these guys out here. Because here's the thing. One thing I've noticed about Parsons, you can't tell him it's a preseason game.
No.
And he's the kind of guy you got to save him from himself. Like they've even had to tell him, hey, slow it down at practice. They've had to rein him in a little bit and be like, hey, dude, it's practice, man. Like, pull the reins in a little bit, man.
Times.
Yeah, he did. He went low on Dak and hit him down towards the knees. I guarantee you that he got a talking to after that. I know he did. McCarthy said as much. He's like, hey, look, you don't hit the quarterback. It's practice. So, but no, we know what we got on defense. Just want to see the offense play well and see what we got there at those positions that we discussed. So I'm excited. I'm ready. I don't know how much I'll get to see of it. Like I said, I'm going to back to a town that I used to live in a long time ago. A bunch of guys that I went to high school with one time because I had moved from Texas back up here to Iowa. Yeah. So it's kind of like an old reunion of some old friends. So it's going to be a good time, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of drinking involved. But I'll definitely be keeping up with the game. So
no, absolutely, man. That's all. Well, have a good time and be safe. Again, big thanks to the star we are. It popped our cherry. We got our first little donation to the channel, so that was awesome. So again, appreciate all the love, guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you maybe Saturday night. You might see me. Maybe Kelly rolls out of bed hungover and he pops in at the end of the show. Maybe a little later for him. We'll see what happens on Sunday. But if not, Monday live. I mean, I think this channel's almost, we might have to put it on a cable network. We got Monday live, Tuesday fantasy football. We're going to have some Miami Hurricane talk with really cool story. I'm just telling you, if you're a fan of life and a fan of football, you want to check that out. And then Thursday, we got Mike Sherrard going to be coming in. He was a teammate of Eugene. So Eugene said that he'll be popping in and maybe they got some stories to share of the time, with Landry and all those guys during that era. So it'll be a lot of fun. So we will see you guys. Thank you so much. Have a safe weekend, and we will catch you later. Peace.
Cowboys Nation. Peace out.
The Eagles getting ready, because you might not like it, but you will learn to love it because we are the best thing going today. Now, can you dig it?